Hello, we are Anastasia Sergeeva
and Björn Rohles from the University of Luxembourg,
and we're happy to present our study,
which is called We Need a Big Revolution in Email Advertising, User Perception of Persuasion in Permission-Based Advertising Emails.
The study we did in collaboration with Verena Distler and Vincent Koenig at the University of Luxembourg, and we're happy to present it on CHI 2023. So, we all know what advertisement emails are, right? But what's special about permission-based advertising emails? So, there are a special kind of email ads that require the receiver to give permission before sending commercial offer, like a check in a box during registration or then buying something online. This means that, unlike the annoying spam emails that we all for sure hate, permission-based emails are ones that you agree to receive. So it looks like a win-win strategy for both the sender and the receiver, because the sender gets to market the product for people who are really interested in the products. And receiver gets to see relevant offers without being bombarded with unwanted emails. But the practical side of it is a little bit more complicated. Most people have experienced this situation before. You go to a website, use it for a while, and then the site asks you for your email address. Sometimes you like the business and want to know more about it. Sometimes the company offers you something in return for giving your email, and other times they won't let you finish what you're doing without subscribing. The subscription request may also be hidden somewhere among other requests for permission to use the site. Eventually, you start to receive advertising emails in your inbox, and you're not that much happy about it. Is the issue with this practice solely the quantity of email being sent? Or could it be that the way of companies are crafting these emails also have a negative impact on a user willingness to engage with them? Since the user's interaction with the email begins with their initial glance at their inbox, before clicking on the specific email, we have chosen to focus on this crucial step of the interaction between the user and the advertising email header. Let's look closer at the row of email headers in the inbox. Even though the companies and products differ, we can see similarities in how they present the information and encourage users to open the email. Do these tactics utilized by companies influence user likelihood of opening an email? Alternatively, do some of these tactics contribute to the negative perception of advertising email? Our pre-study focused on how companies generate advertising emails headers. We wanted to categorize the inbox-level persuasive tactics that are commonly used in modern advertising emails. In our main study, we connected our findings about the persuasive tactics used to the broader context of user interaction with emails. We wanted to understand the general factors that affect users' attitudes toward advertising emails and the typical actions that users take when reacting to them. Additionally, we investigated user thoughts on the persuasive tactics used in advertising email subject lines, and how the use of different persuasive tactics affect their attitude and reactions to these emails. Finally, we evaluate users' opinions on the proposed categorization of persuasive tactics in terms of their quality, including their distinctiveness and completeness of the proposed categories. To answer our questions, we created a fictional email account on a popular free email service. We identified businesses from various industries such as clothing retail, home goods, food delivery, by referring to a multiple list of top internet companies and retailers. In addition, we subscribed to less popular sites highlighted on Twitter by Harry Brignall, who reported on dark or deceptive design patterns. We expected these businesses to use some unique persuasive techniques. Our objective was to join at least 100 promotional subscriptions lists. As we began the process of categorization of the emails, we utilized a triangulation approach, drawing upon three distinct sources of information. The first source was the general persuasive principles developed by Cialdini, commonly cited in advertising literature, so probably the individuals who authored these email subject lines were likely familiar with these principles. The second source was the practical tips and blogs authored by industry experts who taught others how to craft subject lines that rock sales. Finally, we examined an unlikely source of information: phishing emails. Because, despite the fraudulent nature of the phishing emails, their headers share a common goal with advertising emails headers. Persuade user to open the email. Our comprehensive approach allowed us to develop a robust categorization system for the varied emails within our dataset. And further, we validated it using iterator reliability. Based on our study, we formulate 9 persuasive tactics used in advertising emails, namely call to action, shortening the social distance, reciprocity, scarcity/urgency, strong affect, curiosity, social proof, deception, and visual destruction. You can find more information about each of them and examples of them in our paper. And as we mentioned, we conducted a study to evaluate the iterator agreement for different email tactics used using a panel of 4 experts who were active email users and had knowledge about advertising emails. The analysis demonstrated favorable results in terms of iterator agreement. However, some tactics had a limited number of examples, leading to uncertainty about the results. The most common tactic, call to action, displayed a less satisfactory level of agreement among the experts. So as a corrective measure, we decided to integrate these findings with the data collection from users to see somehow the user perspective of this tactics categorization.
Our second study was a lab-based study where we had 32 participants, and for research question 1 we performed a seamless structured interview and asked participants about their experiences with permission-based advertising, and we also asked for critical incidents to investigate their past experiences with these types of emails. For research question 2 we had an interactive prototype where they could interact with the emails because we wanted to test their natural reactions with a high ecological validity but without impacting their privacy by using their real email inboxes. Our prototype used a selection of 21 emails taken from our corpus, and we carefully selected those to represent each of the persuasive tactics that we had identified. We have also randomized the ordering, and to avoid effects of familiarity, we have changed the company names. For the tactic of shortening the social distance, we have used the participant's real first name to create a realistic effect. The participants could use the buttons to delete emails, or to mark them as spam, or to report them, or they could suggest other actions if they wanted. And of course, they could open them by just clicking on the title. Finally, for our research question 3, we performed an interview where we collected participants' feedback about the tactics, and we also allowed them to suggest new tactics that we didn't discover. Speaking of our general findings, our users did distinguish between spam and permission-based advertising, but their view of these emails was still quite negative, in particular when these emails were quite frequent and when the content was judged as not relevant. Regarding the tactics, we found a strong disliking for strategies where advertisers would try to grow their email list, and this was even perceived as a forced subscription for many of our participants. The personalization was also controversial. On the one hand, participants liked the idea of having content specifically targeted towards their needs, but they also expressed a lot of concern about their privacy. Our participants expressed some ethical concerns about some of the tactics and even called some of them as manipulative. That was particularly the case for deception, a tactic which was clearly rejected. Tactics like call to action and scarcity and urgency were also perceived quite negative because they have a tendency to push participants into a direction to take a decision without reflecting on it. Likewise, inducing strong emotions was also perceived negative because participants felt that these emotions might interfere with their capacity to take an informed decision. Tactics like curiosity or reciprocity were perceived as more acceptable. Based on our study, we derived some design recommendations. Here we distinguish between recommendations for advertisers, such as avoiding strategies like deception and strong effect, and recommendations on the side of the users, for example an inbox level mechanism where people could control the number of emails from one publisher. We hope that our findings will prove useful for your own work.
And we're looking forward to discuss it with you on CHI 2023.
Thank you for your interest.